What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to Energy in Motion. I'm your host, Kalon, and I am elated to have you tuned in with me today. Now, things are probably a little different for those of you who have tuned in before, and that's because you're not getting to see me. KMWI is under some construction right now, so you are actually getting to hear me from my home studio. I am so excited. Let me get close. I am so excited to actually have the means and ability to finally produce at home. And it to sound buttery smooth. You see, buttery smooth. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But really and truly though, I'm also excited because we are finally on the Kickback. This is an awesome platform, a media streaming service that gives the Black community the ability to share music and visual content. You can shop at Black-owned companies and on their website. So make sure that you check out the Kickback. That's at the Kickback on Instagram. Thank y'all for opening up your platform to Energy in Motion. We will not disappoint. So if you are a new listener, I want to go ahead and welcome you and kind of walk you through what you can expect from this hour we'll spend together. So Energy in Motion is all about not only melanated conversations, but conscious conversations about the science, purpose, motivation, and experiences that are packed into each and every one of our boxes of feelings. Essentially, our feelings, our emotions are just energy in motion. So on this show, we talk about where that energy has essentially been taking you. Sometimes where you've consciously been allowing it to take you, and other times where we've often unconsciously been allowing it to take us. So we are arriving at our 11th episode. We have actually arrived. And this topic is all about growing pains. So I am in such an awesome situation and position while I sit here in the comfort of my home and I record to reflect on all these different things that have put me in this position that I'm in right now. Now, don't get me misunderstood. There's so much more to come. There's so many other accomplishments and achievements that I'm out and after, but I'm a big believer on staying in the present. And so at this present moment, I am just so incredibly thankful for where I've arrived to. And on our journey today, we'll talk about what got me to this point, but I'm also really excited to go ahead and jump in to share and promote all of what is ahead for me. So I'm going to go ahead and list off a couple of different things that I really, really want y'all to stay tuned for, because it's going to be great opportunities, not only for us to grow as individuals, but for you to see me continue to grow and for me to actually get to meet you so that I can be excited about the growth that you're putting forth as well. So if I'm talking about meeting you, let's go ahead and have like a online introduction first. If you're not already following us on Instagram, the handle is at 3NMotion. That's the number 3, the letter N, and the word motion. 3NMOTION. That way I can go ahead and start to engage with you so that when you come out to the things that I'm about to list off, I can be like, oh, that's you with the funky Instagram name. I love that name. How you come up with that? Your page is awesome. Ooh, you live. That's how I want to be with you when I see you, okay? So, in joining this new platform, it's just kind of scratching the surface of the changes that are taking place in my life. And these changes, this amazing growth, it feels like on one hand, it's been a long time coming, but on the other hand, it seems like it's coming really fast. So I'm thankful to be welcoming in all this new stuff. But on the other hand, I'm mindful that there are still shifts and aches and pains that are come with even the most beautiful growth. And while this growth is my favorite so far, the aches and the pains and the shifts are real, people. They are real, let me tell you. So let me go ahead and dive on into these awesome things that are coming up so that you can see where all of this shift and all this change is coming from. So September 15th, this Sunday, Open Minds Only is hosting a love run. And not only is Open Minds Only hosting a love run, they've actually allowed me to host them hosting a love run. It is so awesome! So join the Open Mind Only kindred spirits and myself for the September 15th love run. No, people, it's not an actual run. You'll want to join the tribe and I as we caravan throughout DFW, passing out free hugs, high fives, and handwritten affirmations. If you want to be a part of it, you can contact myself or Seneca, and we can make sure we get you details about when we're leaving and where we're going. So right now, the places that we're planning to hit are for sure Bishop Arts, Deep Ellum, and Clyde Warren Park. We're going to stay mainly in the Dallas area, and we'll be out there from about 4 to 6 doing this. We don't want to melt in the heat either, but we're going to meet y'all out there if y'all are already going to be out there. And if you can't actually make it out physically, don't let that discourage you. You can still be a part of sharing the love in multiple, countless other ways. Write someone an email, give someone a compliment, send someone a friendly text, let someone cut in front of you while you're driving. You can handle someone being a little bit earlier than you are. It's easy to share the love. So let's find a way to do it. Okay, so the next thing I got coming up, which I won't lie, I do have a certain bias towards because it is my own event. Yes, people, Kalon has her own event. In person, in real life, at a real address, doing real things. I am too excited. Oh my gosh. Okay, so October 8th of this year is the homecoming experience. Come lose your mind and find yourself. A feeling-based experience designed to guide individuals in rediscovering themselves, reconnecting with who they are, and reestablishing a healing relationship with their most authentic self. This experience takes place through transparent and vulnerable dialogue, perspective-shifting activities, and insights learned and shared by host Kalon. Come lose your mind and find yourself. The homecoming experience is coming to you, Dallas-Fort Worth, on October 8th, 7 to 9 p.m. Tickets are on Eventbrite. Yes, there are tickets. Yes, I'm legit. I am so excited. So please make sure you follow up and check that out and ask me any questions you might possibly have about it. I love talking about this. This is my passion. This is my heart. I'm so hyped. Okay, the last event that I have listed coming up, because I want to make sure these are all within a certain bubble of time so you people don't forget. Trust me, I will keep reminding you. You will see it all over social media because these things are events you do not want to miss. The next event is the same week of the experience. It's October 12th and 13th, and it is the Step into Greatness by Walking in Spirit retreat. Seneca and the Open Minds Only tribe, the ones that I was speaking of earlier who are doing this awesome love run, are also hosting a retreat that is going to be on a ranch, and it's going to be a one-night stay away, camp out retreat that is just genuinely focused on unplugging from the day-to-day grind and connecting with good people with different vibes. So you want to join the Step into Greatness Walk into Spirit retreat because there are going to be meals provided, gift exchange, spiritual workshops facilitated by myself and many other dope souls. There's going to be a flute meditation, singing bowl, art activities, yoga, walking meditation, group sunrise viewing. Like, we are doing this. So this is going to be a really, really awesome experience. You're going to want to contact Seneca for that as well, or reach out to me still. And we'll make sure to get you all looped in with all the details that you need to know. So those are all the events that I have coming up, those three. And don't be surprised if other ones keep popping up too, because I thought that I was just excited to be a part of the Open Minds family, and to be able to host the love run for them. But then I got the opportunity to host my own event, and then I got an opportunity to do a retreat. And so time after time, I keep saying that don't think so small. Don't think so small, Raw. There's so much more to come. So other things that I've actually accomplished too that I think are noteworthy, because I don't want to just highlight the big things that are flashy and that demonstrate money coming in. I want to also demonstrate the money going out. So I began building this at-home studio, and I got the opportunity by taking out a personal loan, which allowed me to get out from underneath credit card debt, and my credit has shot up. I'm looking real good, people, real good. And the money that was left over, I responsibly invested into EnergyNMotion and Kalon Presents. And so I've been able to get professional microphones. I'm getting the software. My beloved Chels bought me a new laptop. Shout out to Chels. But these different opportunities have kind of fallen into place for me to be able to produce what I need to from home. I've also gotten the opportunity to start taking editing courses for film and audio. I've started doing interviewing and writing a dramatic piece, and being mentored by two awesome individuals, Donald Fitzgill and Jeff Powell, over finding my personal sound and voice. So I'm just soaking it all in. Anytime someone's able to share wisdom with me and they're offering it, I am so eager and so thankful. So I kind of want to talk about, how did these opportunities even come to be in the first place? How did this come to be? So I love this quote, and you'll see it on social media. I've posted it many times, but now more than ever, it speaks to me. And all it is because I have this crazy idea that my purpose is bigger than me. Let me say it one more time. Because I have this crazy idea that my purpose is bigger than me. That is what this is all about. That is why I'm so eager to get to know you as individuals. That's why I'm so eager and hungry for you to get to know me, because I have been purposed to be a vehicle of love in this world. I don't think the world needs saving. I don't think the world is broken. I think it's going through the necessary shifts. I think it's going through the necessary balances. I think it doesn't look fair. No, I don't think it looks just. No, but I think that there is a bigger picture that our scope of understanding does not necessarily encompass. And there are things that are working out for us that sometimes we don't even acknowledge. Sometimes we're not even conscientious of. And there are a lot of things that look pretty shitty that are such small ponds in this big picture, this big game. So because I have this crazy idea that my purpose is bigger than me, I create this show. I strive to be a positive individual, not fake positive, like you always got to be happy all the time, but genuine positive, as in this situation right now sucks monkey balls, but I know it's a moment, and I know moments pass. And so I'm going to grow through this just like I grew through the joy I experienced a couple months ago. And I'm going to grow out of this negativity and grow right back into love and into joy and into appreciation of myself and my surroundings. And yeah, that might sound really, really hippy dippy, but I love being this way because at least I'm happy, right? So let me talk to y'all about the step-by-step steps that went into me getting to this point. So when I was little, I learned to read at 3 years old. But it didn't change the fact that I still loved my parents reading to me. So they got me a tape recorder and they had me start reading stories to myself. And we recorded countless cassette tape after cassette tape of little me reading Berenstain Bear books, Babar books, all the books, Dr. Seuss, just so that I had company when I was going to sleep. Now, don't get me wrong, my parents read to me plenty, but I was a greedy child, and I wanted them to read far into the night. I don't know about y'all, but I'm the one who needs the ceiling fan on when I'm going to sleep, or the TV playing. I don't do too well with the silence, or at least I used to not. Now I embrace it and enjoy it a lot more, but growing up, I just needed some type of white noise back there. And so my own voice became quite comforting. So it's ironic to be 27, about to be 28, and back in front of a tape recorder, if you will, recording things that I feel bring comfort. Not just to me, though. Now I have the means to try to bring comfort to many others, and that's what this is all about. So that was kind of the first step, me realizing that my voice brought comfort, even if it was just to me. I was thankful for that. I unlocked a lot more when I found out what my writing could do. So I started writing, as you might imagine, because if you're reading at 3, writing's probably going to come pretty soon after. And so I probably was starting to write at like 6, like writing thoughts. Very bizarre. But I've always been very introspective and probably to some extent pretty egocentric. So I've been very interested in why do I think the way I think? Why do I feel the way I feel? And so I started to write down stories. I started to write down poems. And one of the first stories that I ever wrote down and that I ever let anyone read, and the anyone that I'm talking about was my mother, so it's not like I was branching out too far. The first story I wrote was called Love Beneath the Moon. So if you can't tell already, I've always been a hopeless romantic. Always, probably always will be in some capacity. I'd say now I'm more hopeful as a romantic, but still. So this story of Love Beneath the Moon was about this young prince. I think I said it in Africa, and he was being forced to marry this girl who he thought was very nice. He thought she was very nice, but he didn't care for her the way he wanted to in order to make her his bride. So he ends up being unable to sleep one night. So he goes down to this creek, this river almost, that's behind his palace. And he sees this beautiful woman standing in the moonlight, not bathing in an inappropriate way, but just kind of like playing in the water. And she had these green garments on and this green jewelry. It looked like she was wearing emeralds, and she was just having this amazing time by herself, right? And he goes back and he tells his parents, I found the woman I want to be my bride. We have to find the next richest family in the area, because I'll know this woman when I see her, because of the jewel she was wearing. She just looked rich with life, rich with clothing and garments and everything. And they couldn't find her. So he obviously starts going back down to the creek or to the river to look for her. And after a couple of nights, he sees her there again. And he finally gets up the courage to go speak to her. And She's kind and she's mysterious and she's lively, and she doesn't ever give enough information about herself for him to be able to track her down outside of their nightly visits. But most nights now, when he goes down there looking for her, he can find her. And so they have these amazing conversations. And when he is living his normal day-to-day life and entertaining the girl that he was supposed to marry, he's pretty honest with her about, I met someone and I do like her in the way that we want to like each other, but that we don't actually feel towards each other. And she's like, well, I want you to be happy and I'd really just love to be your friend. So I didn't even have like a petty, unrequited love situation. People was just open-minded, even back in my childhood stories. But he goes and talks to Emerald one more time to try to convince her to allow their parents and their families to meet so that they can get married. And she tells him, we can't be. We just can't be. And he keeps asking why and questioning, and she won't give him a direct answer because Emerald doesn't have to, because she's that one. She don't got to. But she does tell him that she cares for him deeply and that won't ever change, but that this will be the last time that he sees her. She storms off into the woods. He's upset. He's angry. He's feeling so hurt. And he decides to follow her. And he follows her, gets lost in the middle of the woods in the middle of the night, and ends up falling asleep out there, wakes up, and in the morning, because he smells something cooking, he can find his way to a nearby home. This beautiful, luxurious-looking home, not quite a palace, but a beautiful home. And so he creeps up to the house, because for some reason, some of the emblems on the home look similar to some of the tattoos on Emerald's skin, the tribal tattoos on her skin. So he walks up to this house and looks in the window like a true creeper, and he sees Emerald, and he sees what he assumes is Emerald's family, and he sees this guy about him and Emerald's age sitting there, and he and Emerald are just sitting far too close together, and they turn and they kiss. And he notices that this young man has like camouflage clothes on. So it turns out that Emerald was already in love with the soldier, and that she was just going down to the creek and to the river at night to think of him. And while she was down there, she met this young man. I can't honestly remember the name of our protagonist in this story. I just remember Emerald because I was so in love with emeralds at the time. She essentially was all along waiting for this, soldier who was away, and now he's back, and she knew she had to cut things off with the protagonist. And so that was the first story, and it ended kind of happy because Emerald got to be with who she always wanted to be with, which was her soldier love. And our protagonist went back and he spoke to the girl who was arranged to be his bride, and he realized that her thoughtfulness and her open-mindedness made him care for her more deeply, and they ended up getting married happily ever after all. So yeah, those were the types of stories I was cranking out as a young child. Young child, thinking that these were the stories that the world needed, where it didn't have to end exactly the way you thought it should end for it to still be a happy ending. It's bizarre that I thought like that back then, but I kind of still think like that. So who grows up that much, right? So if we shift from I realized that I had power in my voice to read to myself, then I realized there was power in my writing. The next step was realizing there might be power when I engage with other people too, right? So discovering I'm a strong speaker was the next step. So I'm not going to take you through my whole life story, but as most of you know who have tuned in before, I was homeschooled till I was about 11 or 12, and then I was placed in the 7th grade. And it wasn't until the 8th grade that I started letting other people read my writing. The first person was a woman named Miss Hamilton. Miss Hamilton, I'm sure that you're married now, or maybe you're not, living your best life. Go ahead, Miss Hamilton. But I never forgot you. You were my 8th grade English teacher, AP English, and you made such a difference. Please tip your teachers because they are doing the Lord's work, truly, and for not enough coin. So I had let her read some poems that I had written because I had been feeling left out. I was a kid that was bullied a lot because, one, I had natural hair. I had locks, and it was before Katrina had hit, and a lot of people from New Orleans and from Louisiana came down to Texas and made it look popular. So I wasn't popular based off of appearance. I wasn't getting many looks. And then also because of how I thought and how I behaved, I was misunderstood a lot. I seemed like a kiss up or a teacher's pet, but I just didn't know how to hold really immature conversations. And when I did, I would probably get really awkward and go overboard with my immaturity because I was trying to overcompensate for not being that childlike. Because I'm an ancient soul. I ain't even an old soul. I am an ancient soul. So I didn't fit in so well, so I wrote a lot about it because it gave me a safe way to express myself. And I let Miss Hamilton read some of my writing, and she just thought it was amazing. And she asked if she could enter it into some competitions. And so she did, and while I did not win the competition, it did give me an opportunity to get published in a book that was a bunch of poems by a bunch of 8th graders throughout Texas. And I still have the book. It's in my office in the other room. I think I'm on page 147, and the poem that was placed in there was called You Don't Know Me. This was back when T.I.'s song, You Don't Know Me. This is back when that was out, okay? So let me go ahead and just date myself as to what was going on at the time that inspired this beautiful piece, right? And I don't have the book in front of me right now. I should have grabbed it, but essentially the poem starts out, a large irritation, instant violation, dragging me to this place where no credit is shown. Like, I was going full, like, slam poet. If you speak like this, then you are considered dope. I was giving it all of that. But the meaning of the poem essentially was saying, you are judging me because I don't behave like you, but you don't know me. I'm actually very goofy. I'm actually very playful, but it doesn't have to come from a mean-spirited place. I don't have to roast people to be funny. I don't have to be hypersexualized to be cute. I was trying to explain all that with all the new dope slam poet lingo that I had learned, but it actually still flowed really well, at least according to Miss Hamilton. And so a talent show became available to audition for at the school that I was at. And even though I wasn't popular, it was the situation that most TV series in high school or middle school come upon, where the unpopular kid takes their chance in the limelight. You know, they step out, they risk it all, and they see what happens. So I embraced it. I put on my most me outfit that they would on any other day have torn me apart about wearing. And I rehearsed and memorized my poem, and I always did this thing back then that they hated. I wore one earring. It's not that I didn't have to. I just wanted to wear one. And they hated it. They thought it looked so sloppy, but I found my largest earring, and I wore that one largest earring just to piss them off. And I asked for whoever our sound person was, it was one of the teachers, to play a song when I walked out. And when I tell you that was inspired action, and I didn't even know it then, but the idea of having a song to walk out to when you're in the 8th grade so that you can make a proper entrance at an everyday basic ass talent show, it set me apart. Because when they started playing T.I.'s You Don't Know Me, which was the hot fire of the radios that time, and I walked out in all my glory, all my 5'8" in the 8th grade glory, you could not have told me I was not that whole school's favorite person. You couldn't have told me. So before I had even spoken, I had realized there was power in my presence. There was power in my approach. Even if I wasn't on the day-to-day basis friends with these people, when I put my mind and intention to something, it was powerful. And I was excited before I even got up there. I was so excited on that walk to the microphone that I forgot the poem on the walk to the microphone. And then panicked momentarily, looked around, saw all these eager eyes that are like, oh, what's she gonna do now? And so all this pressure, but I took a second. I didn't do anything stereotypical like close my eyes and take a deep breath. I looked at them and I took a second and I started. And I leaned into the microphone and I hit them with a large irritation, an instant violation, and they lost their shit. As soon as I would get to a good point, they would erupt. Now, mind you, if you work with children or you have children, you know that the second they realize something entertaining is going on, they will act a donkey anyways. Even if it's not that great, they'll just blow it out of proportion because it's fun to be loud and silly. So I will credit a lot of the hype that I got to be kids just wanting to be loud and silly. But their desire to be loud and silly in support of my outward protest against their behavior, which they didn't seem to understand the poem was about them. They were celebrating yeah, teachers, y'all see, y'all don't know us. And I'm like, no, I'm talking about you, Timmy. I'm talking directly to you. But for that brief moment, for the span of that poem, me and them were on the same team. And I didn't mind it. I didn't mind their interpretation of it because I was just thankful for what I was learning about myself. I was learning there's power to not only what I think, but when I write it down, there's power in that, and people notice that. And when I speak what I've written down, there's power in that. And I just got so excited. I grew up with parents who, were pretty much Bible thumpers until my mom evolved into a full-blown law of attraction, spiritual hippie around my 15. I was like 15 or 16 when that happened. But before then, it was God. It was God talk. And in my heart and in my life, it is still God and universe talk. I do patchwork faith. I combine everything that feels good, that aligns with what feels right in me, and I hold close to that. But I would go home and I would talk to God about, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Because I feel like I'm being like myself, but I'm not adapting well to these people or these situations. They seem to be offended just by the way that I speak. Am I presenting okay? And I constantly was reassured, you're just fine. You're just fine. Don't let them worry you. There's nothing wrong with them either. They're working through their own stuff. There's no need for you to judge them or to hold their behavior against them. You're just fine. You stay in your lane. Don't you worry about nobody else. And I was often told that. Don't you worry about nobody else. And having been a kid who grew up homeschooled, I had my brother and we were a part of organizations like 4-H and such. I was in soccer and ballet and I did lots of active social things, but I often experienced a lot of loneliness. I can honestly say that growing up, my biggest fear was being alone. And so the idea of not being able to relate well when I finally got the opportunity to be in public school and live this TV identity, it was disappointing. But when I would check in, when I would find myself pulling an emerald and gazing up at the moon, I realized maybe it's disappointing, but I'd rather be disappointed and authentic than to be not disappointed and fake. And I did not articulate it that well to myself at the time. I just kept saying, it'll get better. Because that's what most of us in high school and in middle school tell ourselves. It'll get better. It'll be all right. And we don't know how or when, but we're trusting, right? And unless someone comes and ruins that trust for us, it does have an opportunity to get better. We just have to have time involved. So what ended up occurring from there is that kids still bullied, kids were still rude after that, but a lot of them saw something different in me. So my voice had power. My voice did matter. And so I started to pursue things, opportunities, situations that made me feel more powerful, that made me feel like it was appropriate to be myself. So I started looking into acting. I started looking into playwriting, and by the time I was entering into high school, I had found out that there was a school called Booker T. Washington Performing and Visual Arts here in Dallas, Texas, and that they had different subjects of focus, such as dance, music, theater, and I was just don't let me forget my artist, and art, my bad, y'all, and art. But I was just so excited that this type of school existed. And so I went and auditioned and got in. And I, at 15 years old, finally blossomed into a community with other artsy, hippy-dippy, free-thinking people, teenagers. It was awesome. And so I had a great time. I did a whole bunch of different things. I wrote a whole bunch of different plays. I helped design sets. And I acted. And while I really was excited about the playwriting when I first went, I fell in love with the acting. I fell in love with getting to pretend to be someone else, but the fact that I was me is what made this character so strong. I loved being the foundation of people that other people could relate to, especially when I realized that sometimes people just couldn't relate to me. And that became okay because acting gave me another outlet. And playwriting did too. I got to write characters who were relatable, and I got to write characters who were so misunderstood that I definitely related to them. And I started to get mindful enough to realize if all of us feel so misunderstood, there must be something to this. It can't just be us. maybe there's a misunderstanding about what being understood even is. Maybe there's a misunderstanding over how alike a lot of us should be. Because if it's so great to get in where you fit in, why is it causing so much mental illness? Why does it seem like people aren't being taught anymore? People are being trained. Why does it seem like people are spending most of their time going over what they have to do instead of what they get to do? So these are the thoughts that I started thinking about when it came to acting, when it came to writing plays about people, when it came to being relatable, and when it came to getting to know others. It really taught me how to start to love people, even when I did not like them, because I understood at a foundational level, we're all still out for the same things. The acceptance, the love, the appreciation, the being admired or desired or found attractive. We're all still after those things, even if some of us go about it in annoying, petty, obnoxious, and sometimes really, really destructive ways. So on top of getting to get really deep into playwriting and really deep into acting and getting really philosophical in high school, I also was presented with the opportunity to use my voice again in the form of poetry again for the Black Academy of Arts and Letters. And so they were putting together essentially a lineup of people who would come perform weekly at this open mic that they would have. And so the first part of the program would be available for newbies to get up there and perform, but then there would be an actual poetry program that they were looking for consistent poets for. And so someone somehow had passed my name along, even though I was in high school, and in this poetry lounge or club, there was an open bar. We worked out an arrangement that as long as one of my parents came and stayed with me the whole time, that they would pay me $15 a poem to come every Thursday night and perform. And to be 16 years old getting paid for poetry was the most awesome opportunity. I thought I had arrived. And essentially, for a high schooler, I had. I was getting paid on top of being a hostess at Red Robin at the time, on top of also being a cashier at Walmart at the time. Trust me, my hustle has always been strong. But I was getting paid for what I love to do also, along with having a job that people respected and they didn't consider to just be some hobby. I was also getting to do my hobby and making funds off of it too. So I had my nails always done because of the power of my voice and how much people enjoyed what I had to share. And that was incredibly validating for a young woman, for a 15-year-old girl, to see that over time, people do start to recognize your growth. People do start to pay attention. Word does travel, and that people want the quality that you offer. And I think we need to instill that in so many more of our young women, that there is quality that they offer that is not just their bodies, their face, their social media. There is something about them that is amazing, that is presence-based. It's not a physical element. It is presence-based. And the more young ladies we can get to realize this, the better off we'll all be, because at this rate, they really do feel that unless they physically look a certain way, unless they have some Meg the Stallion body, they're not going to be able to get the things they want. They're not going to be able to afford the opportunities that they desire. And we have to break that train of thought. We have to help them understand that themselves, as they were made, has something so beautiful to offer that there is no one else in the world that could offer it the way that they were designed to. And we just have to start validating that for ourselves and for our young people. Because once that was validated for me, I essentially became unstoppable. I was in high school, decided there wasn't a reason that I couldn't skip a couple grades and get done with high school sooner, because even though I knew or felt there was no rush to get through, there was no reason to stay either. So I ended up taking some summer classes and graduated a year early. I had also skipped the 5th grade while I was homeschooled, so I got to graduate high school at the age of 16. And this came from a confidence that came strictly from writing, my voice, and my presence. And I felt capable of taking on things that people around me weren't taking on, just because I knew I'm different than them. Not better than, different than. And because of this different perspective, this could be a different advantage. It doesn't have to be a disadvantage. And so I took that momentum and I ran with it. So I ran off to UNT, where I started in the Mayborn School of Journalism program, because I thought, ooh, okay, I want to connect with people. I want to help people. Maybe I should be involved with what's going on in the news. Foolish, foolish young me. I soon and quickly realized I did not want anything to do with writing what people said the truth was. I did not like their truth. Their truth involved focusing on a lot of facts and figures that were pretty negative and spending very little time focusing on the positive. Creativity was not so welcomed at the Mayborn School of Journalism, not because they wanted to squelch those who were creative or stamp them out, but more so because the news didn't care about your opinion. And I can appreciate that, because it seems like right now the news is very easily swayed from opinion to opinion, and they wanted people being clear on the facts. But the facts that they were reporting weren't the things that got my heart to sing. I ended up doing an interview, wanting to find out what suicidal rates were like on the UNT campus. So I went to the counseling center where I got to actually interview Dr. Cynthia Chandler, who was the director of counseling at UNT at the time. And me and her, who were supposed to have a 45-minute interview, talked for 3 hours at length about psychology, about counseling, about methodologies behind working with people in holistic ways. And at the end of that conversation, this woman, who had no reason to think so highly of me, gave me her textbook and said to shadow her class. She said, "It's a graduate school course in the counseling department, but I would love if you found a way to make sure that you got to attend it, because I think you could utilize the information." And when I tell you that that lit a whole new fire in me, because my fire was getting a little damp, I'll be honest. It was turning into embers in the journalism department just because it wasn't feeding me. But this conversation with Dr. Chandler, this 1 3-hour conversation, told me, like a tap on the shoulder, go in this direction. You have an interest in that. She and all the things she just said were all the things you felt you've been missing since you started in college. Drop everything and go that way. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, because I am logical and emotional, I did not drop everything and go that way. I did make sure to shadow her class the following semester, which was my senior year. And after doing so, I realized that the second that I got done with my undergrad degree in communication, I was going to go into grad school for counseling. I shadowed that class. Everything, every activity, every discussion just had me so engaged. I was like, these are the conversations I want to be having. I want to be talking to people, about people. What do people need? What do people want? What do people feel? Why do people feel these things? How many of us feel these things? These were the conversations that started me in this direction specifically, of wanting to do a show even like this. And so as soon as I had graduated with my bachelor's in strategic communication, I applied to go to grad school for counseling. I did not get in. There were only 30 spots available, and all those spots went to students who had gotten their undergraduate degrees in counseling also, but I did not give up. I took 2 years off to get experience. I worked in advertising, realized I didn't like that. I went back and did some shadowing and volunteer work still for Girls Inc., realized I still had a really, really sweet spot for working with girls, young women, empowering them, inspiring them, writing lesson plans, talking about curriculum and what's appropriate and what's not. So I was like, okay, there might be some interest still there too. But I still felt like counseling, that's something. So I applied again, and I got in 2015, and within a year of the counseling program, I just knew that I wasn't supposed to be a counselor. Funny, right? You were thinking I was going to say that, oh, it was my passion. No. I realized that the rules and regulations that go into counseling are there for a purpose, and they are there to protect the client, and they are also to keep the counselor accountable. And while that makes good sense, perfect sense, I did not get a lot of advice from my professors and my mentors at the time while I was in the counseling program as to how do we protect ourselves. And they say, well, if you're a good counselor, every good counselor has a counselor. I said, okay, well, if I've helped someone to the best of my ability, but then they try to come back and sue me and take my license, how do I protect myself? And they say, oh, you have insurance for that. I'm like, but if they take my license, I can't get that back. And they're like, oh yeah, no, you can't get that back. And no one could ever give me any direct answers of how do I protect me while I help others. And it might sound rude to some of you, but because no one could give me a direct answer to that, and because that was a genuine concern of mine, I did not want to pursue counseling as a life career anymore. I knew I wanted to work with people. I knew I wanted to love people for a living. But counseling was not an appropriate place to try to love people for a living. And that's good. If you're seeking a licensed counselor, they're probably not trying to love you to your best self. That's not an appropriate relationship. But who I am, what I'm built to do, that's exactly the type of relationship that I try to foster with people. And so I would already have been inappropriate out the gate as a counselor. So once again, because I am logical and emotional, and while I knew emotionally this was not the end goal, counseling at least, I still was logical enough to say, girl, you better get that master's. So I finished the counseling program. And to my professor's disappointment, I did not pursue getting licensed because I knew that it wouldn't be appropriate for me to practice helping people in the way that I'm purposed to help people under the title of a counselor. Life coach, maybe. And even there are a lot of parameters that people do not realize go into being a life coach. And it's not that I don't meet those parameters, but I don't like the title of life coach. I like the title of empowerment professional. I want to love people to the point where they can take over and love themselves so well that they don't need a professional anymore. They are now the professional themselves. I'd love to pass that on to people. And that's what I set out to do right now. So I finished grad school last year. I was done with all of my hours and everything by August of last year and graduated in December of 2018. So in August of last year, to celebrate being done with this program that I didn't know what my next step afterwards was, I went to Peru. I went with my best friend at the time, Chelsea, to have an ayahuasca retreat experience. And so I talked about that experience on, I think it was episode 9 with Ego. So if you want to know what ayahuasca is like, go tune into that episode. But the purpose of talking about this is what I asked for on the way back from the trip is guidance. I'm done with grad school now. That was my last ditch effort to figure out purpose-wise what career choice should I make. And now I'm lost. What should I do? And the insight that I was given was find something that brings you joy. What are the things that brought you joy before you tried to become so productive? What were the things that really made you happy? And I thought, well, writing. I thought acting. And then I thought, ooh, speaking. And so as soon as I got back from that retreat, within the month, I had the opportunity to start acting, writing, and speaking again. So let's go in the order that it happened in because it was pretty magical. So I got back from Peru and realized that I was not the person that I left as. So as soon as I got back the next day, me and Chelsea shaved my head. Just shaved it all off. I had locks since I was 10 years old. I had had locks for 16 years and I was like, these don't serve me anymore. Shaved my head, started auditioning for plays, web series, things like that. I landed the web series Kismet. That'll be coming out hopefully sometime this fall. I'm not going to pub it till I can tell you a date for it, but be on the lookout. So I got the opportunities that I was asking for when I was coming back from the Peru trip. And then I was like, well, what can I do to build on this? Because at the root of it, while the acting and the writing and the speaking blesses my heart, what truly blesses me is to bless others. So how can I create something that I can give back with? Well, in the midst of filming for Kismet, one of my co-stars in the web series, who you've gotten to see in one of the previous episodes of EnergyNMotion, is Mr. Trouble. Trouble on Air. Trouble had his own radio show with KMWI Media, and me and him became thick as thieves during shooting last fall, and he told me all about this great opportunity he had gotten to have his own show, and how I had a radio voice myself, and did I ever think about doing broadcasts? And I was like, no, but that sounds dope, tell me more. So when this spring came around, there was a meeting amongst all the hosts of shows and co-hosts of shows for KMWI Media, and Trouble brought me with him, just on a whim. He was like, I think this would be good for you. And he was right. So I got to meet Kenny, who is over KMWI Media, and he and I hit it off really, really big. And he set up an opportunity for me to start to co-host or guest star on his show. I co-hosted and guest starred on Trouble's show. And then I got the opportunity to have my own show. In the midst of getting the chance to do my own show, I had auditioned for the Vagina Monologues out in Denton, my old stomping grounds at UNT, and had landed the role of the woman who loved to make vaginas happy, which, being a bisexual woman, pan, I'm learning, I'm deciding what I am, but being a woman who is very comfortable in her sexuality towards women, this was the most bomb role to play. I had so much fun. It was very challenging, but I had so much fun. And then the opportunities just kept unfolding because I started researching voiceover lessons because I was like, if I'm going to do radio, I really want to hone my craft. I want to make sure I'm aware of what my voice is good at doing, what it shouldn't be doing, what my strengths and weaknesses are. So I started taking voiceover lessons with Voices That Carry. And that was just such a fun group of people. I got experience going and recording in a booth, and to see what my voice sounded like on an actual recording and not just on a microphone live and in person. It was such a liberating experience because I kept feeling like I was coming into community with people who were like-minded, which, if you remember from the beginning, I felt so misunderstood. And now to always find myself in circles of people who are wanting to grow in the things I want to grow in, it finally felt like I was on the right track. People who were doing cool things were reaching out, inviting me to join them for film projects and photo shoots. And then I realized with the radio show, I needed to start a YouTube channel. There were all these different things that started to unfold. And then I realized, oh shit, I'm walking in purpose. Oh shit, I'm doing this. This feels good. These are all the major components from childhood that brought me so much joy, now coming to find me for this beautiful reunion in adulthood, where I can make funds, make coin, make bank off the things that God put on my heart to love oh so long ago. The universe don't forget. See, we go through all these growing pains because we're trying to remember our purpose, but our purpose never left us. We got distracted, we got domesticated, we let the world distract us, but at the end of the day, your purpose is going to find its way into you. And I'm not saying your purpose is in, why am I alive? Like, I'm not that melodramatic. When I say purpose, I'm talking about the thing that gets you excited, the thing that makes your voice go up a little bit when you talk about it, the thing that if you usually don't talk with your hands, when you talk about this specific thing, you gotta talk with your hands. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to purpose. And your purpose could be a hobby that you don't make any money off of, or your purpose could be a career that you are making billions off of. It doesn't have to always have a financial measurable outcome. We live in a society that really only appreciates that. But I'm excited because I have found something that makes my heart sing. It makes my soul glow. Oh my God, did I just reference like jail right now?
It makes my soul glow.
What? But it makes me cheesy. It makes me this happy being able to talk to you about my journey through all these shifts, through all these growing pains, to get to this point where now I am sitting in my home, braless. Let me say it. I am braless, people, and enjoying myself. And I'm able to do my work. I'm able to make money at home doing something that brings me joy without a titty pad on. I don't know about y'all, but this is a good life, and I am so thankful. So I know it might seem a little egocentric to share all of this with you, and it's like, why tell us your whole life story? And my answer is that if being different and having this advantage helped me, then maybe there are a lot more different people who need to know there's a different way to go about living. And I'm not trying to get so hippy-dippy that I ignore the fact that we got responsibilities and we got bills out here, we got kids, we got families, we got spouses. I'm not saying to drop everything and just focus on what you want. But I am strongly suggesting that you carve out some time and ask yourself what brings you joy. And do as much of that as you can schedule in comfortably for now. And there's a funny thing about joy. If you make a little bit of room for it, it gets greedy about the space it wants to take up. And it will try to take up more and more of your life. And so if you can just make it an intentional practice to carve out time on a daily basis, to just get quiet and to ask yourself, how are we doing? What do we want? Not what will make me rich, what do we want? Because you'll be surprised. Your heart, your soul, it ain't worried about being rich. Your ego is. And your ego and your heart and your soul can all be satiated together, but you gotta start to think enough outside of the box to first satiate, what do I want? And once you figure that out, the path is already laid forth. You just get to walk it. And sometimes that walk ain't so easy, hence the growing pains. But don't let the fact that your feet are a little tender and your bones and muscles are a little achy keep you from moving forward. We do not go backwards. We're not built for that. And we can't stand still. The only thing that is consistent, the only thing that is constant is change. So be open to changing and growing yourself. Don't think that you have to stay where you're at, because life's not gonna let you do that anyways. Be open to tapping into the things that brought you joy before and allowing them to evolve into the things that bring you joy now. And when you find that the going is getting tough, you better just remember how tough you are. And remember all the things that you've already accomplished and achieved, and how life loved you enough to see you through that, so it loves you enough to see you through what's next. The question is are you ready for it? So thank you for giving me a chance to share with you how I got to this point where I can put on my own events at a awesome venue for the culture, awesome place, and work with awesome people like Open Minds Only and Seneca and his entire tribe of kindred spirits, and reach out to you from platforms like The Kickback or from KMWI Media or from my own YouTube channel. I'm so thankful for all the different ways the universe has found a way to put this podcast, this radio show in your ear. And with that being the case, I want to remind each and every one of us to remember to at least once a day say to ourselves, things are always working out for me. And I'd encourage you to say it when things look like they're definitely not working out. That's my favorite time to say it, because then life turns it around. And if it's getting too much, reach out to me. I'm not saying that as like I'm a radio host, reach out to me and engage, but I'm a person. And if it's too much, I'd love to talk to you about it. So I'm going to remind you of all the different places you can come see me in person. And I'm going to remind you of all the different handles you can reach me at, so you don't have an excuse to say you don't have support, because Kalon is here with the support. I want you to remember that this Sunday on the 15th, there is a whole event all about love for you to come and get all the love you want. It's called the Love Run. It's being put on by Open Minds Only, Seneca and the Kindreds, and I will be there hosting. Come sit with me. Come grab an affirmation and have a conversation. I'm so excited to be out there 4 to 6 in the Deep Ellum, Clyde Warren Park, and Bishop Arts area. If you hit me up on social media, I'll make sure that I update you on where we'll be at what exact time. And then if you need to do some deeper healing work, then the Homecoming Experience is an event that you do not want to miss. This is a feeling-based experience designed to guide individuals like yourself through rediscovering who you are, reconnecting with who that is, and then reestablishing a healing relationship with your most authentic self. This experience takes place through the transparent and vulnerable dialogues that it takes to get to the heart of things, as well as having perspective-shifting activities, a safe space, and insights learned and shared by myself and those who will be around you growing through this experience as well. So I invite you, please, come lose your mind and find yourself with us. You've waited truly long enough. And then last but not least, October 12th to 13th is the Open Minds Only Step into Greatness by Walking in Spirit retreat, where you can unplug from the day-to-day grind and connect with people who have different vibes. Reach out to Seneca or myself for questions about this awesome overnight retreat that will enlighten and illuminate all of us. So, with that being the case, we've come to the end of my first episode recorded in my home studio. The first episode that EnergyNMotion has offered to the Kickback platform, as well as the first opportunity I've had to do my voiceover work, brawlers. I'm enjoying myself. This is awesome. So, I want to thank you for tuning in. And as always, EnergyNMotion family, you feel what you feel, and you will always, always deserve to heal. Peace. Okay, so welcome to the bonus track for this episode. The reason why there is a bonus track for this episode is because I have realized I am at another growing pains moment. But because this episode is about it, it felt unfair to not share this insight with you. So I am up right now on September 12th at 2:35 in the morning, finishing editing this episode because it's my first episode that I recorded at home, as you already have heard, and because editing an hour's worth of audio so that you feel confident and comfortable putting it out so that it's pristine, even though people can't see your face, to distract from a lisp or too much smacking or too much t in your T's or too much s in your S's. It's exhausting, but I regret nothing in doing this. Every hour this has taken me has taught me something new, and I'm proud. I'm proud that this means enough to me to be up in the middle of the night, a couple of hours away from having to go to work, for at least the 9 to 5 work. And I'm still doing this because it means so much to me to put out a great show. And I know I don't have thousands of viewers yet, but for every person that took the time to listen to this, you deserved clear, quality vocals. Vocals, like I'm singing on this thing. You deserved clear, quality sound, a clear quality voice, and so I am working my butt off to make sure I provide that. So I just wanted to share this insight because the growing pains, as I spoke about them before, they aren't easy, they aren't always fun. And yet if you look at them for what they are, which is an opportunity to do something that you asked to do, I asked to be able to put on my own show, and I'm not going to be butthurt that I'm up in the middle of the night creating it, designing it exactly how I want to, putting all the love and all the details. I wouldn't be doing anything else. Honestly, I wouldn't be doing anything else. And another thing I meant to say earlier in the episode, when I was hyping everything up about the homecoming experience, on a personal note, the reason why I'm so excited about it is because I finally feel deserving enough to put a price on what I offer the world. And I wouldn't do it until it was guided action. I wouldn't do it until I felt led to feel appropriate and comfortable in what I was going to offer. And the inspiration just keeps coming in. The inspiration for the research I'm doing, for the topics that we're talking about, the sessions that I'm leading. I'm not just throwing this shit together. This is important to me. So please understand that I'm very excited for what the homecoming experience is going to offer you. I'm very excited for what it's going to offer me. I do not take lightly charging people to come to something I'm hosting because I feel like love is free, but the effort and the time that I'm putting into it isn't. And I stand by that. I'm proud of that. So I hope y'all respect the hustle, and I really hope to see you because I can't wait to share space with you. But I wanted to add this additional note about growing pains. Even when you're doing bomb shit, you still gonna need to grow through it, and there's still gonna be challenges. Don't be tenderfooted. Keep walking. Peace.